one last video I would like to do, and this again is in week 1 of Church History 1, and this video would have to do with the most significant historic event of this first week of our study, and that would be the destruction of Jerusalem, the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem in 70 A.D. And your textbook, Dr. Shelley says on page 23, for all practical purposes, A.D. 70, and the destruction of Jerusalem marked the end of the apostolic age. The significance of the destruction of the temple, and this marked the end, in many respects, of an era and the beginning of what we will call Gentile Christianity, because Jewish Christianity took a blow to the heart. Now, if you'll remember going back in the Gospel of Matthew, Matthew 24, Jesus had said to his disciples then, Matthew 24:2, I say to you that not one stone, talking about the temple, not one stone shall be left upon another that shall not be thrown down. And he was referring to the beautiful temple. Now, what about this temple? The temple itself is a study in history. But Herod the Great and Herod Agrippa, the Roman delegated kings of Palestine, had set upon themselves to rebuild Solomon's temple, and they'd done it in glorious fashion. Interestingly enough, that elaborate work of rebuilding the temple was completed in 64 A.D., 6 years before it was actually torn down. The construction was elaborate and very expensive and employed a lot of people. But so what are we talking about here in terms of Jerusalem? There had been an increasing pressure from within Israel, within the Jews, to throw off Roman rule. And this insurrection reached high point in 66 A.D., 2 years after the completion of the temple. Now, going back in 62 A.D., James, the brother of Jesus, had been killed. The church in Jerusalem was virtually leaderless, and things were not going well. The Jews rose up, rebelled against Rome. So that brought us to 70 A.D. And Vespasian, who was the Caesar at that time, sent his general Titus. They circled the city. Josephus, the Jewish historian, tells us that they burnt the entire city. They actually took grappling hooks and pulled down every stone of the temple. And this took place in 70 A.D., beginning in April and ending in September. So what happened after that? The Jewish people were vanquished, the Orthodox Jewish people, I'll say, that wanted to continue to worship, and they fled en masse out to Masada. And we are told that there was a last stand of Orthodox Judaism there in a high plateau area out near the Dead Sea. And then in 73 A.D., that finally fell with actually the suicide of 960 people on that plateau of Masada before they could be actually captured. What does this do to Judaism? Well, a couple of things. Number one, Orthodox Judaism can no longer function. It has no temple anymore. So that leaves what would be called a synagogue approach to Judaism. No longer can sacrifices be done, and they become a people of the book. And that's the approach to Judaism that has come to us today. No longer has an atonement because the temple, of course, has been done away with. And that continued until 47 A.D. in terms of occupation of Jerusalem. And with the return of the Jews in 1947, after World War II, and we have the rebirth of modern Israel. Now, will the temple be rebuilt again? That's yet to be seen. But that's the history of what happened with the Jews. So what happened with the Christians? The Jewish Christians fled earlier, as a matter of fact, to a place called Pella up in Jordan. And the remnants of the followers of Jesus in Jerusalem after the death of James, the brother of Jesus, fled to a place called Pella. And there was a fledgling Jewish Christian Orthodox community there. We are told that in the 2nd century some of them returned to Jerusalem, but for all practical purposes, faith left Jerusalem 70 AD, and as a result, where would faith be found? The transition from Jewish origins to Gentile destiny was complete. 70 AD was the sealing of that in a practical unfolding of history. So the significance of 70 AD cannot be underestimated. A huge, huge event. God bless you as you study the ongoing story of church history.